This is some big power for a Shortline.
Hi, I'm Dan Cortopassi. Today I'm reviewing an HO scale SD38-2 locomotive from ScaleTrains.
My model is detailed and decorated for the McCloud River Railroad.
I'm going to pause the review for just a minute and talk about the McCloud River Railroad just to give you some background in case you're not familiar with it. It wasn't a big railroad, so I realized that people who were from other parts of the country outside California may not have even heard of it, potentially. So it was a railroad that operated less than, I think at its peak, less than 100 miles of track, and it was located in the Mount Shasta area of California, which is way in the extreme north of the state, roughly about 60 miles from the Oregon border, give or take. And they interchanged with the Southern Pacific and later Union Pacific at Mount Shasta City, and then they interchanged with the WP High Line and later BNSF at a place called Lookout. So the primary business of the McCloud River Railroad was timber products, and it's a very forested area. It's a lot of mountains and tall conifer trees and things like that. So it made sense that their main business would be the timber industry. So anyway, just a little background, and now we resume your regularly scheduled review.
ScaleTrains offers the Rivet Counter SD38-2 in two versions. The factory direct price for the DCC Ready version is $199.99. I pre-ordered and got my DCC and Sound Equip version for $324.99 direct from ScaleTrains. We'll start the model at 100 possible points. The engine is packed in a sturdy cardboard box. Opening the box reveals an owner's manual with DCC and other information. A plastic cradle holds the model. The trucks have plastic protectors that need to be removed. The handrails on the long hood have foam protectors. This is an excellent box that should do a good job protecting the model for storage and transport. The EMD SD38-2 was a 6-axle, 2,000 horsepower locomotive. It was first built in 1972 as part of EMD's -2 line. The locomotive was the successor to the older SD38 model. Among other improvements, the -2 locomotives had solid-state electrical components that simplified maintenance. Though similar in appearance, SD38-2s were not as popular as the 3,000 horsepower SD40-2. One of the main spotting features is that the SD38-2 only has 2 radiator fans, while the SD40-2 has 3. The SD38-2 shared the same 16-cylinder prime mover as the SD40-2, but without turbocharging. It was intended to haul heavy trains at lower speeds. The lack of turbocharging reduced maintenance costs. Some railroads use the SD38-2 for switching duties in major yards. I previously reviewed a Southern Pacific SD38-2 from ScaleTrains, which is still available here on the channel if you want to watch it. McCloud River Railroad 39 was purchased new in 1974 and was the only SD38-2 on the roster. It served along with McCloud's other locomotives, including 3 SD38s that were purchased new in 1969. I found photos of the real McCloud 39 online. As far as I can tell, the model is spot on. The appearance of the locomotive didn't change much while it was on the McCloud, though photos show that sometime between 1991 and 1994 the lettering was changed to McCloud Railway. Most likely the unit was relettered after mid-1992 when the ownership of the railroad was transferred from ITEL to 4 Rails Incorporated and the railroad's name was changed. As far as I've been able to tell from photos, McCloud 39 was never painted in the brown scheme or silver and red schemes that were applied to some of McCloud's SD38s. In 1997, McCloud 39 went to the Union Pacific. It was initially numbered 2824, then renumbered to UPY 824 in 2002. I found photos of it still in service in 2016. The paint on the model is opaque and thin enough that it only slightly softens small details like the latches on the doors. The markings are crisp and most of the tiny stencils on the shell are legible with magnification. I only spotted a few small voids in the McCloud River lettering at panel seams where there are gaps in the markings in the real units too. The handrails are made of a flexible plastic that should stand up to modest handling. The stanchions are mostly straight up and down on my model when viewed from the sides. The trucks have freestanding brake lines. The left side front truck has a speed recorder and cable and nice brake chain detail. The wheel faces are painted, which is something ScaleTrains has done in their most recent releases. Something that I think is an improvement is that the color is now a darker brown instead of rust. To me, this is much more realistic. The couplers are painted the same brown color. In front, the engine has freestanding wire grab irons and separately applied windshield wipers. The The numbers in the number boards appear to be applied under or on the back of a layer of clear plastic glazing, making them look like numbers behind glass. Lower down, the pilot has an uncoupling lever, hoses, and a plow. I really like the stripes and writing on the plow. The drop steps on both ends are operable, though they seem a little fragile, so I'd be cautious when moving them. The cab side windows are positionable, though they don't always seem to stay put, other than sometimes getting stuck fully open. It's hard to see, but inside the cab has a complete interior. The cab has photo-etched sunshades. The wind deflectors on both sides of the cab are glued in the folded position and aren't movable. In back, the model has more freestanding wire grab irons and a detailed rear pilot. On top of the cab, the model has a detailed horn casting, a beacon, and a firecracker-style antenna. The small grille on top of the inertial filter hatch appears to be photo-etched. One of the other spotting features of an SD38-2 is the filter box in front of the dynamic brake fans. ScaleTrains did a good job on this. The dynamic brake fans have see-through grills and separate blades. The dual exhaust openings are nicely rendered. In back, the dual radiator fans also have see-through grills. Underneath the sill, there's enough plumbing to look good when the model is on the track. The wheels have the common RP25 tread profile. All the axles are powered and all the wheels pick up current. The model has ScaleTrains knuckle couplers on both ends. Looking for a match on the horizontal center line, the front coupler is a little high, so I'm taking 5 points. The rear coupler is close enough to call it good. All the wheels are engaged according to the NMRA standards gauge. There is no body wobble. The model weighs 18.5 ounces, the same weight as the ScaleTrains Conrail SD40-2 I reviewed previously. Drawbar pull peaked at 4.4 ounces, a little better than the 4.2 ounces for the ScaleTrains Santa Fe SD40-2 I reviewed in 2025. I'm running the locomotive on DCC. The engine has an ESU LokSound Series 5 DCC and sound decoder. I haven't changed any of the default decoder settings except to set the address to 39. Like a lot of DCC decoders, the address is set to 3 by default. F8 toggles the sound on and off and also turns on the number boards, ground lights, and walkway lights. F0 turns on the headlight, which is directional. The forward headlight is on when the locomotive is set to move forward, and the rear headlight comes on in reverse. F5 cycles the class lights. They can be white, green, or red. F7 turns on the beacons. I really like the dual flasher effect on this model and how the front beacon flashes more often than the rear one. F1 rings the bell. F2 sounds the horn. The model has an ESU power pack that will keep it running for a few seconds if it loses track power. F10 activates the brake function. The locomotive will decelerate according to the momentum settings programmed into the decoder and stop. Pressing F10 again releases the brake and the locomotive will start moving. F4 puts the engine in dynamic brake mode. F9 activates the drive hold feature. This can be used to simulate starting a heavy train, or a locomotive that is coasting. The locomotive has no issues on Kato 550mm curves, which are equivalent to a 21 5/8 inch radius. The engine runs very smoothly. With the sound off, it's pretty quiet. Because it's my preference, I'm going to change the couplers to Katie's. I'll just unscrew the draft gearbox and remove the screw. It's a little stubborn. There it goes. And I should be able to pull the coupler out. This is a little, it's getting hung up on the plow. There, sometimes if you tilt it a little bit, it'll come out. Removing the rear coupler is easier since there's no plow in the way. So like with most ScaleTrains models, once you get the couplers off, the shell will come off. So it's pretty typical chassis. It's got the main board in here and then the LoCSound 21-pin decoder. If you had the DCC ready version, this is where you would install a 21-pin decoder of your choice. The one thing I've noticed about this model, it's a little different than some of the other ScaleTrains models, is that there are actually wires going up into the shell, these very fine little magnet wires. So you have to be really careful not to break those if you take the shell off. It doesn't take much with these guys. You don't want to pinch them when you put the thing back together either. So I'd recommend being a little cautious with that. So the other thing to be careful of when reassembling the model are the brake lines. These tend to get snagged, or the magnet wires tend to get snagged on them, and they can also catch on other details. So I would just proceed slowly and with caution. It's pretty, whenever you have a detailed model, you run into things like this when you're trying to take it apart or put it back together. One trick I found with the brake lines on ScaleTrains units, and probably other brands as well, is the ones in the end, I hook them on the outside of the step wells to get them out of the way, and then once the model's back together, I just unhook them and they pop back in place. If you don't want to take the model apart, the dynamic brake section is also removable, which is true with a lot of ScaleTrains models. Mine is a little tight and I don't want to actually take it off because I'm afraid I'm going to break something, but it is an option if you don't want to actually, remove the whole shell to get to the decoder. I took out the original ScaleTrains couplers and springs and substituted some KD158 whisker couplers. They fit right in the original draft gear boxes and they move side to side really nicely, so it's a pretty easy swap. Installing the rear coupler is pretty easy, but the front one is a little tricky because this piece extends down from the draft gear box. And, on the plow end, you really can't see this anyway, and I find it really difficult to get it in there at an angle and not pinch the uncoupling lever while I'm doing it. So one of my things I like to do sometimes is just to file this down a little bit to make it smaller, since you can't really see it anyway. It doesn't take very long, it's just plastic. I just filed that whole thing flush with the rest of the draft gear box and got rid of it. It's not something that's really going to be noticeable, and I'm not even really tempted to paint this because it's not going to be seen. This is facing the track, so I don't think it's really worth it. Yeah, that doesn't show at all. It's fairly typical with ScaleTrains, at least this particular model, the SD38-2s and SD40-2s, for the couplers to end up lower when you put KDs on them. So the coupler that was high in the front is now slightly low, so I'm going to just file the mounting pad a little bit and get it up to where it needs to be. That looks pretty good. So this is another great model from ScaleTrains, and I'm really happy with it. I was especially happy to see that they were going to do this model because the McCloud is not a big railroad, and I can't imagine that they're going to have as much interest in this as they would in like a Santa Fe or a Conrail unit, which I've previously reviewed those. The SD40-2s or even the Southern Pacific SD38-2s that I also reviewed. So, thank you ScaleTrains for being willing to take a chance on a kind of obscure model like this. My personal experience with the McCloud started when I was a kid. My parents used to vacation a lot in the Truckee area. And if you're not familiar, there's a road, State Highway 89, which is a pretty long north-south highway, but you can take it from Truckee. And if you follow it north far enough, you end up in Mount Shasta City. And we did that drive a few times, and sometimes we'd poke around in McCloud. And I don't remember ever seeing the railroad in operation, but I do remember seeing some of their boxcars parked around. And I even made a model of one of those at one point. So it's kind of neat. And then in 2008, I had the privilege of riding the last steam excursion on the McCloud Railroad behind 262, number 25, which is now running up in Oregon. But that was pretty neat. I got to see the railroad, up close. Unfortunately, since then, I think
You know, they were originally a timber products railroad, and that kind of went away, and then they were trying to survive as a tourist line for a while, and then I think the recession of 2008 kind of, you know, was the beginning of the end of that. And from what I've been reading, the railroad's been pretty much idle since 2010. A lot of the track has been removed. I was in McCloud at around 2016, and I remember seeing the yard, and it looked just like nothing was moving. You know, it didn't look like anything had moved in quite some time. I think there might have even been some like small trees growing up between some of the equipment. So, you know, I don't know what the future holds for that railroad, but I'm really glad that I've had the experiences with it that I've had, and I'm really glad to have this model.
Let's see what we've got. The model had one high coupler, so I took 5 points in the standards and operation category. That leaves us with 95 out of 100 possible points, which earns an A. This is a nice model, and it deserves a green signal.
I think ScaleTrains did a really nice job on this model, and it's really nice to see them do an obscure prototype like this, so thank you. I really appreciate it. I like the McCloud, and I'm going to enjoy using this locomotive on my Donner layout, even if it's not quite prototypical. So if you like this video, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It really helps the channel, and I appreciate it. Stay tuned, and thanks for watching.